Hey, it's Missy.
It's April.
And this is SheelaNaGig. Hey everybody, welcome. Thanks for listening. Thanks for being here. We so appreciate it, as always. And of course, each week we explore our own SheelaNaGig, a woman whose strength and perseverance has led her to greatness, who empowers us, inspires us. Maybe it's somebody you've heard of.
Or somebody you haven't, but should.
Yeah, or maybe you just need to learn a little, more. We want to share a little bit more. These ladies need some light. What are we doing, April?
What are we doing?
Yeah, we're lighting the light and fighting
the fight.
Right? Is that
no, we're fighting the fight and lighting the light.
We are gonna get this straight in 2026.
Yeah. We're the only one I know who comes up with a slogan and then we can't remember.
We look it up every time.
Every time.
Oh my God. We're gonna get it, you guys. You're gonna be really proud of us.
And thank you for being so patient with us.
Yeah, we appreciate being so patient. But anyway, yes. Here we are today. And April, how are you?
I'm good. I'm well. Thank you.
I'm glad. I rear-ended somebody today.
Oh, no.
And you know why? It's because I was texting you.
Uh-oh. I'm indirectly responsible.
It's totally your fault.
It's all my fault.
I'm kidding. But I was texting. And it was my bad. I should not have. I don't usually text when I drive.
Well, that only.
But you know what it was? Point. It was like very, very bumper to bumper, like really
I've
slow
done that.
traffic.
Yeah. You think you're okay.
Yeah, in downtown LA. So you think like, oh, I'm barely moving, whatever. And somehow the moment I looked up, it was like, boom. Uh-oh. But I was fortunate. Because this guy, he was all pissed off. He was super mad. He had a Camry like mine. His was a nicer Camry than mine, for sure. And my first instinct is always like, oh my gosh, are you okay? I'm so sorry. And he was just like, I said, are you okay? I'm sorry. It's all my fault. I'm so sorry. Did not mean to. He's like, what were you doing? And I was like, I'm sorry. I was distracted. I'm very sorry.
I love that you said you're distracted. You didn't admit you were texting.
No, what was I going to say? Sir, I was texting. No, I just said, I'm sorry. I was distracted and it's all my fault. And I'm really sorry. And then we just, proceeded to look at both of our cars. And actually, I shouldn't say both of our cars. I only looked at his car. I still haven't looked at my car. I don't give a fuck, actually.
Oh my God.
But it was kind of funny because he was kind of looking and kind of shaking the bumper. And there was just nothing. There was nothing.
But he had a hard time just saying,
he did. He was like, well, and finally I go, well, I guess our Camrys stood up pretty well, huh? Thankfully. And then he finally said, all right, well, I guess it's okay, but you need to be careful. And I said, yes, I do need to be careful. I'm really sorry, sir. And then I shook his hand. I don't know why I said this, but I was just like, God bless you. Very out of character.
God bless you for not taking my information and deciding your back hurts.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not really a religious person, but it was just this instinct. I was like, God bless you. And he was just like, Rrr. He kind of grunted at me, and that was that. So okay, well, I am grateful. Thank you. Thank you, universe or God or whoever we're talking to. Thank you, because that would have sucked.
Yes, and I'm happy to say right now. I drove here today without rear-ending anybody.
And you didn't go in a ditch?
I didn't.
Remember when you went in a ditch recently?
No, I didn't go in a ditch. I drove up on a curb and took out both tires, a wheel, and a little bit of front end. So I have no room to talk.
It was on her, it was on her way to the podcast, right?
Yeah. I was on my way to the podcast and drove right up a curb. Why did April drive up a curb?
Yeah.
I have no idea.
It was funny. She called me. And
yeah,
she told
I did.
Me. And then I was going to drive to her. It just didn't quite work out. But you don't mean to do these things. They happen. That's why they are called accidents. Because they are accidents. They're accidental. We don't need to do those. But anyway, I digress.
We digress.
No, we do. We do digress. But we're here today, and I got a hella Sheela.
You got a hella Sheela. I know for a fact that you have been working on the Sheela for over a month.
I have, and that doesn't mean that. I mean, I did do some rabbit holing. I was up till 3 a.m. still last night. Of course you did rabbit holing.
You always do rabbit holing.
But it was unusual because usually when I sit down and do a Sheela, I do it consecutively. I mean, maybe there'll be like a little break in between, like a day or so. Mm-hmm. But this one I kind of did in little spurts over the course of like the last 3 weeks, month, just because of the holidays and stuff.
Yeah,
so
that makes sense.
So she's been on my mind for a while.
All right.
So I'm excited to finally share her with you today.
Let's go.
And my Sheela is Jeanne Hébuterne. And that is spelled Hebuterne. It's a French name. So now most of you have heard of Amedeo Modigliani.
Yes.
You know who this is,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
This is that famous Italian artist whose unique paintings are always recognizable because they often have these women with these long necks, with, you know, they have mask-like faces and just eyes. Often they don't have other features, or if they do have other features, they're very diminished. And so everybody knows ones I'm talking about, correct?
I certainly do.
Okay.
Yes, I'm a fan and I'm intrigued.
Okay.
Okay.
Well,
please don't tell me he didn't really paint them.
that would be hilarious, wouldn't it? If we found that out.
Well, this wouldn't be the first time.
If it was like Zelda Fitzgerald all over again, and also
Keane.
Yeah, Margaret Keane all over
right?
again.
Yeah.
Yep. No, not quite. Not quite.
Okay.
But it is quite a shocking story. So Jeanne Hébuterne was also an artist, but probably one that you haven't heard of much about, other than the fact that, you know, you may have heard her name may ring a bell because she was often referred to as Modigliani's last muse, the subject of his later paintings.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm. And when I say later, the dude died at 35.
Oh,
so,
my goodness. So,
yeah. But we're going to learn a little bit more about her today. And she was a very talented painter and designer, even creating her own clothing when she was younger. And she was portrayed by Modigliani in over 20 of his works.
Wow.
Often as the idyllic modern woman. Jeanne was born on April 6th, 1898. Wait, didn't your last Sheila have that birthday? I think she did. I think your last Sheila,
really?
Virginia Hall, also had the birthday of April 6th, if I'm not mistaken. Because I'm April 2nd, and I thought, well, 4 days away. That is weird. I think it's April 6th, right? She's going to research that. All right, so anyway, she was born on April 6th, 1898, in Muse.
April 6th, 1906. You're absolutely right.
Oh, my God.
Oh, my goodness.
And they were only, 98 to 06? What is that? 8 years? They're 8 years apart. Yeah.
Wait, 98? Yeah.
Yeah. That's interesting.
That is interesting.
Very
How
interesting. They may have run in the same circles.
They might have.
Yeah. And she was born in Muse, France, and she was also the second child to Achille Casimir Hebuterne, who worked in a department store. And then her mother was named Eudoxie Anaïs Tellier Hebuterne.
Of course. Yes. Can you say that 5 times fast?
No, I can't. And I know I'm hacking it a little bit, but I'm trying.
You sound good to me.
I'm trying. But, it didn't say what her mom did. Maybe she was a homemaker.
She might have
She might
been.
have been a homemaker.
Okay.
I don't know. But I knew her, I know that her dad worked in a department store. So Jeanne was said to be a very happy little girl. She was very curious. She marveled at everything. She was very artistic from the time she was very young. And she grew up in a rather strict bourgeoisie Catholic family. And she got on wonderfully with her brother, who was also an artist. His name was André Hebuterne, who later also became an artist. And she shared, her interest and her talent with him. And they were very, very close from the time they were very young. And she showed kind of this talent for drawing. Again, from an early age, she started drawing scenes of everyday life, in which can be seen the weight of religion and her early solitude. A lot, when you look back at her, childhood paintings,
Yeah.
they still, not paintings, but more sketches, you can really see that.
Oh.
Yeah, I know, it makes you a little bit sad. But in her teen years, she was already known in the artistic circles of Paris, but she really had this desire to become
Good luck.
Yeah, exactly. But in 1917, at the age of 18, she entered the Colar Aussi Academy to study drawing.
Good for her.
Yes. Well, it was really good for her because this was actually the only Parisian academy that accepted female students at that time.
Oh, wow.
And
Surprise, surprise. What am I
yes,
doing?
I know. Wow. I know. We're,
I know.
So
we're getting very cynical. As
we are getting this podcast can make you cynical.
Yeah,
it's
it
true.
can.
It's true. But it also, not only did it allow female students, but it allowed them to paint nude male models.
Oh, I love it. Male nude models.
Yes,
Very
it-
progressive.
It is progressive.
I like it.
And exciting.
Yeah.
And
Let's not get too excited.
no, I remember one time, okay, I'm going to digress for a moment.
Okay.
I had to take a class, and I think it was my senior year of college, maybe it was my senior year of college, but I had to take an extra class, And I opted for an art class. I'm not an artist. I'm artistic, but I'm not really an artist per se.
Fine artist.
And
You're
not
a
a fine
musician.
artist. I'm a musician, yeah. So I took this class, and there was this dude in the class who was just like the most amazing artist, and he was like the teacher's pet. And I decided, and he was really handsome, and I decided I freaking hated him.
Why?
Because he was just like way too good of an artist, and he was super handsome.
Missy,
and, like,
that's unlike you.
and he seemed very like, I don't know. I just was like, I was young. I was,
Okay.
you know.
All right, we'll give you a pass.
21, right?
All right.
So anyway, one day we weren't in class, or I think it was just like a random day, and I happened to be walking near the art room, and I noticed like when they would have, models, they would put up kind of stuff like blackout stuff.
Oh, right.
So people couldn't
So
people couldn't see in.
I just could imagine all the people staring
So
at the
there's
nude.
nobody around. I kind of look and I think, I'm just kind of curious. I wonder if it's a dude. I'm just going to look in at the nudies. And so I go in and I'm looking, and it was a dude, and he was actually like really good looking and stuff. And so I'm just kind of like, oh, this is kind of fun. I'm just spying on the nudie male,
Precisely why they put the curtains up. Yeah. Go ahead.
I was young.
Yeah.
And so I'm watching and I'm like, ooh, all of a sudden, the dude I was telling you about comes walking up. He goes, oh, checking out the models. And I was like, oh, no, actually, no, I'm not. No, I'm not checking out the models.
I'm looking at the muscle structure.
I was so busted. And it was so embarrassing. But of course, he went on to become my boyfriend.
Of course.
And we dated. And he's still one of my best friends to this day. Shout out to Cole Eiler.
So Missy never ends up actually breaking up with boyfriends. They all become friends.
That's true. I am.
And you've mentioned Cole, right?
Yeah, you know Cole. I'm officially friends with all my exes, but I just had to mention that.
Did he know that you thought he was a stuck-up asshole at first?
Kind of, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. He,
Well, but he busted you.
Yeah, he
Anyway,
did.
back to your Sheela.
Yeah. Anyway, I know. Back to my Sheela. I do digress. So anyway, it's but it was when she was going to this Parisian academy that she really perfected her drawing and painting skills. And it said that she was kind of quiet. She was thoughtful. She was a very sensitive young artist. I mean, she was also really known for her beauty. Oh. She had this long, thick, dark hair, kind of reddish auburn. And then she had these very piercing blue eyes. So she was just known. You can see.
Well, no wonder she was his muse.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. You can see photos of her. That's so shallow, April.
I know.
That was just so shallow.
It was a very shallow observation, but really, I made it anyway.
Really.
I'm not taking it back.
No, you're right. It's okay. So you can look at pictures of her though, and you can see she's a beauty. She's beautiful. So she continued to be introduced at the same time to that artistic community in Paris by her brother, André Hebuterne, who also, as we had said before, he was also an artist, and he kind of aspired to become a painter as well. And she met several of the then starving artists, and she began modeling for them, in addition to creating her own art. So she was really part of this very vibrant Parisian community of, young artist students who were just kind of all helping each other and learning together.
Yeah, what exciting time.
Yeah,
I'm sure.
Very exciting time. I'm sure it was gay.
Yeah.
I like that word gay.
I'm sure it was gay.
Yeah.
As in delightful.
Exactly. I'm sure it was. Yeah. So a few months shy of her 19th birthday, Jeanne met Amedeo Modigliani, who was an artist at the time. And he was very, very handsome. He was 32 at the time. And again, she was, just turning 19, 14 years her senior. And it's what a lot of people called love at first sight. They were immediately drawn to each other, attracted to each other.
They never differentiate between love at first sight and just sheer lust.
That is true. Have you ever had love at first sight?
Yes.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Did it turn out to be love at first sight? Did it stay love? Did it turn into like a long-term love? Or
it was a long-term, deep relationship, but it was more platonic than it was sexual.
Interesting.
Yeah, but when I laid eyes on this person, I knew that was an important person in my... Actually, I've had that happen several times. Not so much sexual, but definitely love at first sight, like I know you, I know my soul.
I mean, I had that with you. I mean, you know what I mean? Like, I
that's true. We immediately
I saw you right away.
And
I've talked about this before, and you came. We were in a networking group together, and April walked in, and she was just this little bundle of energy, and she was really sweet and cool, and I was like, oh my God, I love her. You just had great energy. And I remember saying, sit by me. I was the greeter.
I felt the same way about you. And that was that kind of love at first sight, but not romantic love at first sight.
Yeah. I have had romantic love at first sight.
But was it lust or was it love?
It was love. I mean, it's funny because I do talk about this a little bit later on in this episode. I'm going to talk about this guy a little bit because I have some comparisons.
Okay.
But yeah, and I remember it was around New Year's, and I remember being in this bar in Detroit, actually in Hamtramck, called Paychecks back in the late 80s. And I remember he was sitting at the bar, and I was kind of like talking to my friends outside the bar, and I looked
across a crowded room. I can't help it. Sorry.
Keep going, April. Keep going. Keep going.
Except I can't sing.
Yes,
okay.
you can.
Come on.
So I looked, but I could see he was kind of looking forward and drinking a beer and like looking, and
their eyes locked.
They did. They kind of did. I remember looking over and seeing him, and he looked at me, and we had this moment of our eyes locking, and I just thought, I love him. I love him.
Wow.
I did.
Wow.
And I did love him. He was my first love.
Oh.
And I'm going to say, and I talk about this a little bit later, but you only love that stupidly once. Thankfully. Thankfully. So
Okay.
I did love him stupidly. We will talk about that. But anyway, I keep digressing, but this, So anyway,
you digress.
she was madly in love with him.
Yeah.
He was madly in love with her.
her.
From the moment they saw each other, there was
She's
just an
in love
instant...
with him. He's in love with... What
Go,
was
April!
with me?
Keep singing!
Go talk.
Keep singing. I love
talking.
it. It's the drugs. Okay. It's the drugs.
It's the drugs.
Oh my God.
I didn't take any drugs, by the way.
She's drinking a little bit of wine, though. She's a lightweight. Oh my God, I love it. Okay, so Modigliani, he was known as Modi.
Modi. There we go.
In those days, most of his friends called him Modi. Mm-hmm. And this also...
They didn't call him Modigliani.
No, they did not. They did not. I wonder why.
Thank heavens.
I know, because I kept tripping over it. Thank God they didn't call him that.
Life is about to get easier for Missy.
Exactly. I'm going to call him Modi from here on out.
Yay, Modi.
Okay, so known as Modi, which plays on the French word maudit, meaning cursed. Yeah.
Well, the dude died at 32, right?
No, 35.
35.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. You're getting ahead of yourself there. But, so, whether that was part of the reason, I just think they called him Modi because he had a long name and it was easier to say.
Yeah, right?
But maybe people also were saying he was cursed. Some people did say that he was. So Modi was the object of envy of many because he was super handsome in appearance, and you can look up his picture too. Mm-hmm. He is definitely...
Yes, I will.
A tall drink of water. Yep. So, yeah, he was very stunning. He was also quite educated. Mm-hmm. He was very knowledgeable, and he was kind of sophisticated in his manner. So, in fact, there was always women bustling around him, but men too. He just had this... Everybody was attracted to him. He was extremely charismatic, yes. And so he had also already become established as an artist. And he was renowned for this distinct style. It was, he had a pretty prolific body of work at this point, both in painting and in sculpture. Mm-hmm. And so he immediately, again, he drew Jeanne's attention. And, it was really his kind of, besides the fact that he was extremely handsome, he had this artistic brilliance and that magnetic charisma. She was doomed from the start.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's talk a little bit about Modigliani, or Modi. He was born in Italy, and he moved to Paris in 1906. And he immediately started immersing himself into that, bohemian artistic community. Yeah. He frequented Picasso's studio. Mm. They were good friends. And he dabbled in Cubism. He was heavily influenced by the avant-garde movement and the penniless Parisian artists who lived both those bohemian lives and despised the flashy world of the bourgeoisie.
Of course.
Yeah.
But of course.
So Modi renounced his wealthy roots. He actually came from some money, which is probably how he ended up be able to go live in Paris early on. His parents did send him money. I read that. So he kind of chose to live in poverty because that was kind of the thing that
was romantic,
and that was what the artists were doing at the time.
Starving artists.
They were all starving artists.
Rejecting the bourgeoisie. Right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And he was also at this time, developing an addiction to drugs and alcohol, of course, along the way, which many of them did. Many of them did. Yeah. So
the tortured starving artist.
there you go.
Right.
Tortured starving artist, right?
It's no fun unless you're tortured.
That's true. Yeah. So as time went on, Modi's meetings with Jeanne became more frequent, and rather quickly, she became his main model and his principal subject. And she posed for numerous portraits, and he was just passionately attracted to her delicate facial features, it said, and her what he called her ethereal beauty. So Modi's unique style combined with Jeanne's graceful appearance led to the creation of some of his most iconic works. And the two, again, just continued to fall deeply, deeply in love. And Jeanne became indispensable to Modi and kind of like a precious necessity like air.
But I have a question.
Yeah.
Because she was an artist in her own right.
She was.
And what was happening to her in her own art as she was falling in love with Modi?
Well, we're getting there, but you're jumping ahead of it.
Sorry. Okay, keep going.
Yes.
Keep going.
So basically, she was this precious necessity to him, and also he became everything to her. So they were kind of inseparable. But in the midst of all this, Hebuterne was renounced by her devout Roman Catholic family for her liaison with Modi, whom they say was little more than a debauched derelict.
Ooh.
And on top of that, he was Jewish.
Oh no, not Jewish. Not
a Jew.
It was bad enough. He was an artist. He rejected his bourgeoisie background. He was a tortured drunk.
Yeah.
And now he's Jewish.
And now
Let's
he's
just keep
Jewish.
putting the nails in the coffin.
Exactly.
Okay.
Well, sadly, anti-Semitism was and is still everywhere.
Alive and well.
Things weren't any different then, really, than they are now, unfortunately. But all these things combined,
You drunk artist Jew.
So, knowing of her parents' disapproval, Hebuterne initially tried to conduct their relationship in secret for the first year.
Yeah, good luck.
Yeah. And so she would kind of breeze back and forth from Modi's studio to her parents' apartment, and she would return home at dinner time to resume her good girl pretenses.
Yeah.
In the book Loving Modigliani, The Afterlife of Jeanne Hébuterne by Linda Lapin, she deals with the life of Modigliani's muse, model, and companion. And Lapin assesses that eventually the sneaking around proved too much. So Jeanne defied her parents by moving in with Modi.
Uh-oh.
And her mother and father didn't even realize how far Jeanne had drifted away from them until she had become pregnant.
Uh-oh.
Oh, God forbid.
Yes, this was before the Planned Parenthood clinics.
Yeah, exactly. So in 1915, Modigliani left Paris with Hebuterne to escape the war and traveled to Nice on the French Riviera. Doesn't that sound just beautiful?
It does sound beautiful.
Just traveled to Nice.
Yep.
And Modi had an agent who was aimed to boost his visibility by selling his artwork to affluent collectors who spent the winter there. So during their time in Nice, they had a very busy social life. They were also both creating a lot of art at this point.
Oh, they were both creating art.
They were both creating art. And they were kind of like, this celebrity couple in a way amongst the art world,
And what happened to her pregnancy?
Well, it's coming along. April, you just get ahead of yourself.
Tell.
Okay. So, they're in Nice. They're making art. She is pregnant, but, and he was always the more both prolific and known artist of the two.
Yeah.
But she was
An artist in her own right.
She was an artist in her own right. And she was learning. He was older than her, a little bit more established. So she was learning from him as well. And I'm sure he was learning from her, whether he admitted it or not. Right? So they had this busy social life, and many of their friends included Renoir and Picasso, among other notable artists. A little bit like Caress Crosby and her gang.
Well, it was said that whole atmosphere in France was a very entrenched, creative network of very talented, amazing people.
Yeah, smoking opium and hashish.
And
every night's a cocktail party.
And creating brilliant art.
Naked parties.
Yes. Well,
remember Caress's?
Oh, I do remember Crosby. But we digress.
Okay. So, Modigliani continued to create art and continued to sell his art, although he was never very successful. It wasn't, they weren't living this like rich, successful life, but they were socially rich. They were enjoying their lives. Okay. But in Nice,
we're actually going to pause right here. Okay. Pause. Okay.
So in Nice, Modi's health started to deteriorate rapidly. And he started having these alcohol-induced blackouts that became more and more frequent. And in November of that following year, the couple did welcome the birth of their daughter, who was also named Jeanne, after her mama. And Modi was sent to register the birth of his daughter, but
What did the dude do?
Well, he had actually disowned a previous infant son, which is really sad. So this is the first child that he actually, but he was supposed to go and register the birth, but he got so drunk that he never made it to town hall.
Oh, for God's sake.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Modi.
I know. Come on, Modi. It's like a dude.
Man up.
Man up.
You're a dad twice over.
Yeah. A guy you can't depend on. That
right?
Sucks.
Well, yeah. And those artist types.
One of those artist types. And his turbulent lifestyle, marred by poverty, drug abuse, and constant withdrawal from the art world, continued to create an unstable environment for Jeanne and Modi's relationship. And it wasn't long before Modi was both abusing Jeanne and cheating on her. Which sucks.
No, but it's not surprising. Like you set the whole stage. And, this podcast does make you a little jaded.
It does.
I'm sorry.
And again, when I was first kind of researching, I had heard things about her before. And so I kind of already knew.
Yeah.
But then it's interesting. If you initially research it, they describe her as the love of his life. Yes. This romanticized relationship, this, and then, of course, as you dig in.
Right.
But I dare say it's complicated. Okay. But according to Mary Riddle of The Guardian, it is well known that Modi, a roisterous drunk, was never Mr. Work-Life Balance. But I love that. But there is a little hint among the praise or damnation of how he really behaved toward his women. Amedeo Modigliani was a sexual predator whose models were procured by his art dealer. He boasted that to paint a woman is to possess her. And he probably slept with all of his models.
Probably.
He, as far as his live-in muses, which Jeanne was not his first live-in muse, he had others, they all endured terrible violence. He slashed one of his lovers' face with a glass.
Oh my gosh.
And hurled another one through a closed window.
Wow.
It is also said that Modigliani terrorized and reviled Hebuterne. Which is so sad.
That is so sad.
She's a young girl.
Yes.
Oh, and of course she's madly in love with him.
Yep,
not understanding the... Yeah. So an onlooker supposedly once watched Modi throw Jeanne against a railing and drag her along by her hair, describing him as like a madman, crazy with savage hatred. The scene, according to Modi's biographer Jeffrey Myers, was a bit of street theater for the delectation of his friends. How
disgusting.
It's disgusting. It really is. So, he was a fucking abuser. And, it sucks. It totally sucks.
Well, I think that part of this story has to do with drugs, alcohol, and just an indulgence of darkness.
Darkness, yeah. And you also wonder how mental illness played into this.
Yes.
Absolutely. And what came first, the chicken or the egg? You know what I mean? Sometimes people have mental illness. Their way of coping with it, and that they self-medicate with drugs and alcohol. Sometimes they do so much drugs and alcohol that they become mentally ill.
Yeah.
Incapacitated and unable to...
I hesitate to say this, but there is something about the masculine culture.
Yeah.
That also feeds that and normalizes it.
You're right.
We see it right down to today.
You are absolutely right about that.
It's not like this is such ancient behavior. It's not.
Right. You're right. You are totally right about that. So, all said, Modi was always really anxious that Jeanne would leave him. I wonder why.
Yeah,
I don't know why he would have been worried about that. Yeah. So, he knew that Jeanne really missed her parents, and he feared that she would go back home and just not return to him. He was really fearful of that.
Well, he should be.
And so Jeanne had this thing where she couldn't go back to her parents because they had kind of disowned her at this point. But there was a park that was near her childhood home where she had spent a lot of time as a child, and she could see their house from the park. So she would hang out at the park. Just go and hang out there.
Oh, that's so sad.
Isn't that really sad?
Yeah.
If I knew my child was doing that and I had disowned them,
well, I don't know that you would disown your child.
I wouldn't. I would not. I don't think there's anything that they could do. But
the one thing I would say is that was a different era.
Yeah.
When I think there was a lot less tolerance towards children coloring outside the box.
Sure.
Today we're fortunate enough that we're not so traditional.
Yeah.
We're not.
True. Yep. So anyway, he insisted, once he kind of caught wind that she was doing this, he would insist to always go with her to that park.
Of course, yes.
Because she was just,
the manipulative
she was just, steps away from her refuge where she could go and escape.
Maybe, in theory.
Yeah, in theory.
They might have not taken her.
Yeah, that's true. But he was worried sick, so he would just always accompany her. And despite these difficulties, though, Jeanne remained so devoted to Amedeo. She provided him with unconditional love and emotional support. She just loved him to her core.
Wow.
She loved him. It's heartbreaking.
It is heartbreaking. How do you love somebody who beats you?
Yeah, how does that equate to love?
But I'm not sure.
More on that later.
Okay.
But memoirs written by their friends portray Jeanne as moody, reserved, and she was actually quite clingy and jealous as well. Apparently they were both very clingy and jealous. I believe that she had a reason to be. His jealousy had to do with her family, because she wasn't cheating on him, as at least it's not documented that she ever cheated on him with other men. But to him, the family was the threatening part.
That was cheating on him.
So they were both, jealous and clingy, and it's mutual. But they did try to settle down together and have a child together, and they lived, their lives as artists, and they had obviously a very passionate relationship, for lack of a better word. And again, she was described as a very, she was sweet. Yes, she was moody and reserved and clingy and jealous, but she was a very sweet woman.
But she was also much younger.
Yeah, exactly. She didn't know how could I think about myself at that age. And this is the age, actually, that I fell in love with this guy that I was talking about, which I am going to talk about a little bit. But, yeah, you can only love that stupidly once.
Right.
And she was stupidly in love.
Yeah, with so much abandon.
With abandon, absolute, yeah. But, Amedeo, I now want to say Amedeo. Modi. He had this very macho, very shaky personality. He was just not consistent, but she was always there to hold him up. And obviously the idea today, though, of course, is not to talk about their love story, and even less to talk about Modigliani, but to talk about Jeanne Hébuterne career as an artist. Because yes, Jeanne was this very talented, as we said before, draftswoman and painter, but unfortunately she was completely invisibilized because of the work and also the antics of her partner. Unfortunately, so yes, we will get to more about her work. I just want to make sure that you know that we're still on track with that to get there.
I'll hold you to that.
Yeah, hold me to that. And Modi's life, as pointed out by art historians and biographers, was marked not only by precocious talent, but also, again, that just complete arrogance. He was very arrogant, and he was just constantly drunk. He had he would insult people violently in public. And he was very hostile.
Many of the men in that European clan or group were known for having very difficult, moody personalities and arrogance.
Picasso.
Yeah, Picasso is one, but there's a whole roster of them who hung together and
it was considered okay.
Yeah,
they all normalized it for each other.
Yeah, they were empowered, and yes, these were brilliant creators. I don't want to take anything away from their art.
Yeah,
but
it's hard to separate sometimes. But
it was inseparable with their very, let's say, colorful personalities and behavior.
Yeah, that's kind of you. Colorful personalities. Passionate, that's another kind of word. But this made life really not easy, though, for Jeanne.
Of course not.
Now she's a mother. She has a child.
Yes.
It's making it even harder, of course. So, but what's really interesting in the midst of all this is that Modigliani used this whole bohemian lifestyle and his antics and the drinking and the drugs really as a cover for something much more sinister, something that had plagued him since his teenage years. He had tuberculosis, and nobody knew. It's said a few of his closer contemporaries might have known, but he hid it.
Wow.
Because, of course, it was a horrible illness. It did not have a cure. People were scared to death.
Right.
And he found out when he was 16 that he had it.
Which was pretty much a death sentence, wasn't it?
Yeah. But this enabled him to conceal the symptoms of the disease by claiming that, his seizures and his blackouts and his, was all the result of the alcohol and drugs. Nobody knew that he was suffering from an incurable disease.
Wow. Well, that would be a heavy thing to live with.
Yeah. And I'm sure he was self-medicating. That is not a comfortable illness. That is not, it's a hell of a way to go. So.
Did Jeanne know?
No. She found out, well, I'm getting there. Yeah.
Okay.
So although, alcoholics were marked as society's underdogs, so to speak. Alcoholism was still considered, kind of a socially acceptable issue, especially when you were a man and you were an artist.
Right.
And you were running around in these circles like we just talked about.
Yes, it's almost like a prescription.
Yeah, exactly.
Of course you're an alcoholic.
Now women, of course, women were considered, much worse. But men could get away with that. And I like how they call it an issue and not a disease. Right. It was just like a little issue. Right?
A tissue.
Yeah. So, of course, as we just said, tuberculosis is this terrible disease, and people were dying of it like crazy in the early 1900s, and it had a stigma, obviously, and people feared it. If they knew you had it, you would be ostracized.
Oh, yeah.
Nobody wanted to hang out with you. You'd be pitied, and it really would have separated Modi and forced him into isolation, and that was just something he was not willing to do. There's just no way.
Which I could understand. He's at the height of his career. He is handsome. He was talented.
Dashing.
Yeah.
He was dashing. He was dashing.
He was dashing, darling.
Yeah. So, his life just consisted of this continuous alcoholism and substance abuse. He was also known to smoke enormous amounts of hashish and opium. Yeah. And he loved to drink absinthe for weeks on end.
For weeks on end.
Just frying his brain.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm sure that helped his tuberculosis.
I'm sure it all helped, yeah. And it probably made him a really good dad, too.
Yeah. And we know what kind of boyfriend he was. So.
Exactly. The Parisian bohemian community named him the Prince of Vagabonds.
Oh, how romantic.
Isn't that romantic? Yeah. The Prince of Vagabonds. Yes.
Absolutely.
Because his eccentricity knew no bounds, he often stripped naked at social gatherings, Caress Crosby, and rudely insulted wealthy Parisians.
Well, why not?
What a fun guy.
You got to have a good body to do that, though. Admit it. I would not strip naked.
It's true.
And insult Parisians.
Mr. Adonis. Although I'm sure he was not looking as good as it used to as he was getting more ill.
True. Yeah.
So the next spring, though, Jeanne and Modi ended up returning to Paris. And Jeanne at this point was still suffering from what we know now as postnatal depression.
Oh.
She was really depressed. She was really down and cried all the time.
Oh.
Was not feeling very motivated to create art. It's just a very, very hard time for her.
Yeah.
But soon upon their return to Paris, she found out that she was pregnant again.
Oh, no. Citizen so.
I know, adding insult to injury.
Oh, Jeanne, this is not a good path.
It's not.
I don't mean to be judgmental, but...
Yeah, I know.
But
she needed you in her life, April.
Yeah, I don't have birth control back then.
Right.
I couldn't produce
It's interesting because it talks about his close friends, but it doesn't talk about her close friends. I get the feeling, because it did say she was reserved, I get the feeling that he was quite social. Kind of like you and me. No, No, you're social.
No, you're definitely more social than I am.
No, but I
Moving right along.
So I think what I was saying though is like I think it's like he was the social one. He was
Right.
out. He had a lot of friends.
He was also a more established artist.
Yeah, and she didn't have the desire to be as social as he was.
Well, she was going
her
through
social battery was like just way smaller than his.
Well, she also had, as you just mentioned, postpartum depression.
Yeah, exactly.
She had an infant. She had
Another one on the way.
A guy beating her. I mean, like
a guy who
that's not exactly conducive to, hey, let's hang out and have fun.
Good point. She was probably embarrassed, so she was hiding. I would imagine.
I would think so.
I would imagine she maybe had bruises. She's probably hiding, from people. Who knows? So sad. But when Modi found out that she was pregnant with her second baby, he did ask Jeanne to marry him.
Well, first decent thing.
And that was the only woman he had ever proposed to in his whole life.
Okay.
But he always claimed that she was his true love. So he did propose to her, but Jeanne's parents were against the marriage, of course, for obvious reasons. Now, they had disowned her, so I don't even know why they should brought them back in the mix.
Right.
Really.
And meanwhile, there is one child on their way. It's a little, never mind.
Yeah. So
I don't mean to sound judgy,
no,
but
they somehow had to add their 2 cents, and they did.
And they did.
Yeah. So, but, apparently, Modi was actually kind of proud of being a father. I'm sure he wasn't a great father, but he was proud of the fact that they had a child together and they had another one on the way. And he recognized their daughter as his child, which is a big thing because he didn't recognize the first one he had.
Right.
And so, he wanted to be respectable. And,
Okay.
make a real woman out of her. Oh my God.
Okay.
So disgusting. I'm just kidding. You know that, right? So yeah, what a guy. So he even ended up drafting a receipt with the promise today, July 7th, 1919. I undertake to marry Mademoiselle Jeanne Hébuterne as soon as the documents arrive. However, this promise would remain unfulfilled. So the wedding
I'm
plans...
so shocked.
I know.
Okay.
The wedding plans were shattered. They were shattered. And this was independently of Jeanne's parents' resistance when Modigliani's tuberculosis began to rapidly worsen. And his health started to deteriorate due to complications of his substance abuse and the contraction of tubercular meningitis.
Oh, jeez. Wow.
Yeah, which
So
was
how old is he
deadly.
about this time?
35.
Okay, and we sort of have an idea of
What's happening next?
Right.
Yeah. The couple faced financial difficulties.
Yeah.
And it's interesting because he was quite prolific, but apparently he would sell his paintings for like food
Oh, wow.
or a meal or to pay rent.
Well,
And that's kind of how they were existing.
Yeah, in that time, you had to die to become valuable.
Yes. And we know what happened with him.
Right.
So, Jeanne was she was devastated by his illness. She has a second baby on the way. She's, 8 months pregnant at this time, and the other thing is, and she became very despondent herself, I mean, she also has postpartum still from the first baby.
Right.
And she started, despite the hardship, she was very devoted to him. And she also decided to give herself the very sad task of sketching her once godlike husband throughout his increasing illness.
Oh, my goodness.
So there's all these sketches
Interesting.
of his illness. She felt a real need to document that.
Wow.
Yeah. And it is said, too, I remember reading something that she was always kind of a little bit obsessed with death. There was a part of her that was always kind of interested in death. I don't know exactly how that translates, but interesting side note. And but apparently, Modi was very, very sick. He was still very, very happy about her pregnancy, probably more so than she was at that time.
I would imagine.
And, he would boast to his friends. And he had a really close friend named Manuel Ortiz de Zarate. And he recalled Modi's words, weeping in tears after Modigliani's death, that his last wish was to see the face of his second child soon to be born.
Oh.
That's sad.
So did he die before the child was born?
April, we're getting there.
I'm sorry. You just keep bringing me into the edge of my chair. It's
Okay.
your fault.
In what would be both of their last days, I guess that's a bit of a spoiler alert, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
Jeanne had to trudge up and down many steps. She was at this point 9 months pregnant, but they lived in this upper kind of studio apartment, and she would have to go down there to fetch and carry buckets of water from the fountain in the courtyard, as there was no running water in their studio. And apparently, Modi needed water. She had washcloths, and she was trying to
take care of him.
Yeah, exactly. So, and apparently his final days were absolutely pathetic. When his doctor did finally come to see him on his bed, he was laying there amidst empty bottles and half-open cans of sardines, and he was declared hopeless at that point.
Aww.
Yeah. And, here she is, 9 months pregnant at this point. And some said that, her despondency and her depression or whatever really kept him from getting the medical help that he should have gotten or needed. But the other side is that they couldn't afford it.
Right. Yeah.
She really did everything she could, but they didn't have anything.
Wow.
So I kind of side with her on that. So, and also, people say, she shouldn't have had him, let him drink so much. How is that her responsibility?
How would she know? Yeah.
But, he's laying there. He's going to die. He's absolutely in horrible pain.
Right.
What does he want?
It's not like there was a cure at the time for tuberculosis.
No.
So
she knows he's going.
Right.
I remember my friend, her mom was dying, and she loved Chardonnay. She loved this particular type of Chardonnay, and she was on her deathbed, and she was and she got a little dropper, and just put Chardonnay into her. And she said her mom said, "This is so delicious. Aww. This is wonderful, Chris."
That's amazing.
Yeah, so you got to look at it that way.
Right. Right.
So on January 24th, 1920, Modigliani was taken by taxi to the charity hospital where he died at 35 years of age, leaving Jeanne and his young daughter behind, as well as his unborn child. And Modigliani's friend, Moise Kiesling, was with Jeanne at the hospital, and he later recalled that he'd never forget the sound of her scream that was filled with such grief as Modi laid there on his deathbed. So sad.
That is sad.
She was probably just...
Well, she was also so young.
Yeah, and overwhelmed.
Her first loss, and she's pregnant. She has an infant.
It doesn't get much worse.
Oh, my God.
Your family's disowned you.
Yeah.
Not
to mention her hormones are raging.
Yeah, exactly. So she obviously and immediately fell into this very deep depression. She quickly began to consider her own death as she was faced with very difficult realities. She felt super guilty she always felt really guilty about betraying her parents. And her brother. She loved her brother, but, in the midst of all this, her brother, too, had kind of disowned her. Yeah. And, just the pain from the poverty, the abuse, and, the burden on her child as an unmarried mother in those times. There were so many things that were just
even
wrong
though
for
that
her.
Was an avant-garde, environment that she was living in, she still was not really conforming to what was expected.
And, of course, the drug addiction and the alcoholism and, the trauma from his illness. It was just too much.
The whole thing.
Yeah, the whole thing was too much. So she, I think that it suggested that just that reality really just sunk in. And then, of course, the fact that she realized that, Modi was gone.
Right.
The love of her life, who she had depended on so much, was gone. So she just felt this extreme hopelessness and pain. And so at this point, the same day that he passed, Jeanne's family actually came forth.
Oh.
And despite their disapproval of her situation and that they had disowned her in the past, they took pity on her and they brought her back to the family home.
Oh.
Yeah. And tragically, though, and sadly,
as we say,
the very next day, Jeanne died by suicide, jumping from a 5th floor window in her home. And her grieving family held Modigliani responsible for her death. And so when they initially buried her, they refused to let her be buried by him.
Right near him.
Yeah. And they buried her at the family cemetery. But surprisingly, apparently almost a decade later, they finally agreed. I guess there was a lot of pressure on them from the artist community for them to be buried together. And finally, her remains were moved to Père Lachaise Cemetery, where she was laid to rest beside Modi. And what they put on her epitaph?
What?
Devoted companion to the extreme sacrifice.
To put it bluntly.
I love that they allowed her body to go there, and then that's the epitaph. They're like, okay, if you want her body to go here, that's fine, but everybody's going to know what the fuck was going on here.
Right.
Yeah.
In a way, that was justice.
It really is just desserts, isn't it?
Yeah,
it really is, yeah. So, of course, Modi's funeral was enormous. Mm-hmm. It was enormous. It drew the entire Paris art world. Mm-hmm. It was all over the papers. Yeah. It was attended by, poets, artists, writers, dealers. And he, of course, like I said, was buried in the very prestigious Père Lachaise cemetery and treated like a celebrity, basically. Well, he was on some level, but, despite his very impoverished life status. But by contrast, guess what Jeanne's funeral was like? April.
Her immediate family. Yeah.
Simple, quiet, few family members and friends.
As she was.
Yeah. Yes. In attendance. There was no write-ups about it. Nobody really cared. It was so sad. And why wouldn't they have cared? You'd think those same people would have supported her as well.
Well, I think that the issues are he was a very extroverted, celebrated, known entity in an artistic community, and she was, what did they call? His muse.
I know.
Muse is not the same as the artist. The artist is celebrated, the muse is a muse.
Yeah. Muse doesn't get the same funeral.
No.
You're right. So Amedeo Modigliani and Jeanne Hébuterne, their intense relationship lasted just under 3 years.
Wow.
Isn't that hard to believe after hearing this whole story and whatever? 3 years. Think about what 3 years is.
Nothing. A flash in the pan.
Yes. And, again, they met in March of 1917, and Modi died in January of 1920, so kind of fast and furious it was.
Yep.
And I want to flash forward because let's just talk a little bit about Modi. We know who Modi was. We know who Modigliani was, right? And what's interesting, though, of course, is little was known about him outside of Paris in his lifetime. Mm-hmm. But of course now he is recognized as one of the greatest figurative painters of the earliest 20th century. He's glorified.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And she's fucking forgotten. And that's what I can't stand.
Okay, well, I do want to say that her body of work wasn't out there the way his body of work was.
And it wasn't developed either because she was so young.
And I'm not defending his fame over her obscurity. I'm just saying that she didn't have, whether it was because she was young, because she was female, because
he should have been pushing her art. I'm sure he felt threatened. If you see her beautiful art, I'm sure he felt threatened by her on some level.
It's interesting because as you've been presenting this, I'm trying to frame it from the standpoint of why is she a Sheela? And I think that what you're saying is that she was a Sheela because in her own right, she was gifted, talented, and that her talent and art was completely obscured and obliterated and shadowed under him.
Not just by his art, but by the person he was.
By the person he was and the art he produced.
Yep.
And I would agree
with you. And she deserves some light because I'm going to get to her art. Her art is, you got to go look at her art.
I'm dying to look at her art.
It's fucking stunning. Like, it's amazing. But
it's interesting. I was just listening a little bit to the Golden Globe Awards, which were last Sunday. And I know this podcast will air several weeks later. And one of the artists, and I honestly wish I could remember which one, was saying how lucky she was. Not because she was there and getting a Golden Globe, but because there are so many talented people whose art does not get acknowledged. It is the lucky few that squeak through and become really known and famous.
That is true.
And I think it is harder for women, especially when they're associated with a famous man.
Yeah.
To get obliterated. And so that's the framework from which I'm understanding and really enjoying and admiring and grieving over this particular episode.
Yeah. No, that's well put, April. Astute. Very, you're absolutely right. So let's flash forward a little bit.
Okay.
In 1981.
Yes.
Remember we talked about Jeanne Modi's daughter,
Yes.
Who's also named Jeanne?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Well, after they both died, and her family had disowned her, they also disowned her daughter, which is super sad.
Wow. They
That's sad.
continue to disown the daughter? Yeah. Wow. So who raised her?
Modi's sister in Italy.
Wow.
So she was raised by Modi's sister in Italy. And she went on to become a art historian. And she also became a big proponent of her father's work. Keeping his work alive, keeping it out there. She was very much, that was her, she was driven to do that.
Yeah.
And she really had no connection with her mother's family, so she really didn't know very much about her mother.
Interesting.
And it was in 1981 that she finally uncovered these diaries that belonged to her mother. She was able... It was a fight. She had tried to get stuff back from the family that had belonged to her mom. It was back and forth. And I don't know how she exactly obtained the diaries. But in 1981, she was able to obtain these diaries. And she was able to, read them. And, Jeanne, her mother, was describing her early life and her renouncement of her family and her tempestuous relationship with Modi, who was perpetually intoxicated and volatile, outrageous, often unfaithful, and irresistible to all, nonetheless.
Right.
Yep.
Yes.
So she was really getting a clear picture of this relationship. She really didn't know at that point what their relationship had been. This is all these years later.
Yeah. Yeah.
Her 1981 at this point.
Wow.
So despite this, Jeanne Modigliani is her name. She suggested that there were moments of sanity and sobriety in these diaries, and that their love was profound, inviolable, and touchingly observed. But I don't know how I feel about that.
Well, it reminds me of something you shared with me about your parents and their volatile relationship.
Yeah.
You mentioned that you really wanted to remember a time when your parents really loved each other, and you used hypnotherapy as a way of accessing that part and remembered a day you spent with them that was very loving.
Yeah.
And I think as messed up as many complicated relationships are, especially when they're colored with a plight of addiction, it can obscure and make you lose sight of the fact that maybe they really did love each other.
It's totally true. Like I said, it's complicated.
People are complicated.
Yes, and.
Yeah.
Yes, and, right?
I appreciate your indignation for Jeanne, Jeanne number one's suffering.
Yes.
And her subjugation to his fame and his abuse. But there was a spark there somewhere. And we were talking about, what does it feel like when you meet somebody and you're immediately drawn to them? You immediately feel a connection. You feel love. And, there was obviously more there than just the dysfunction.
Right. And I do want to talk about that in just a second. But in 2000, by the way, Jeanne Modigliani ended up dying in 1984.
Oh.
I think she had a brain aneurysm. It's very sad.
Very sad.
Kind of unexpected. So it wasn't until 2000, now we're in 2000, a curator named Christian Perisseau decided to, at this point, the art had been secured by the daughter. But now I shouldn't say it became secured, but that did not happen in her lifetime, which is really sad. But she had fought. Finally, after her death, it was released. Like some of that stuff became available. So he decided to curate this Jeanne Hébuterne exhibition in Venice. And it was the very first time that her artwork was ever publicly displayed.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
And, she had died in 1920. And we're talking 2000 now.
Wow.
That's crazy. Is that 80 years? Like, how long is that?
That's a long time.
Yeah. Her work had never been displayed. And here we are 80 years later, and she's getting her first show.
Wow. Well, good for
her first
daughter.
exhibition.
Wow.
Good for her daughter. It's too bad that she didn't get to see it within her lifetime.
Right. Yeah. A double, grief or,
But after Jeanne Hébuterne family had, lost her, and they were absolutely devastated, especially her brother. They decided to kind of collect all of her art in the studio, and they just locked it away.
Oh.
They locked it away.
Aww.
And her brother, who we talked about, she was so close to, who became a fairly well-known artist. His name, again, was André Hebuterne, and he was so distressed by her suicide that he just couldn't bear to be reminded of her association with Modigliani.
Right.
He also rejected Jeanne's daughter, as we talked about. And so I think he just put those blinders on. He shoved everything.
Yeah.
And didn't want to deal with that.
And so indirectly, her family contributed to her obscurity.
Good point. Good point. You are absolutely right. And, you know, if it weren't for her daughter,
right,
who sought this contact with the family to access her mother's artwork and mementos, you know, it would never have happened. Like I said, fortunately, she was able to at least see those diaries before she passed, but the artwork, the collection didn't happen until after her death. So it was a long battle, and of course, you know, she finally did get what she wanted. And it's interesting because, you know, it seems really harsh, obviously, that her brother decided to just kind of put on those blinders and lock everything away. But the silver lining of that is that everything was preserved.
Wow, good point.
Yeah, everything was preserved for posterity, as, you know, the sketches and paintings of a young unknown female artist would surely have gone missing.
Yes,
in later years.
Absolutely. Wow.
So he really, I mean, maybe it didn't have to last that long, but he really did her kind of a favor.
In the end,
in a weird
it was
way.
A favor. Yeah.
As my Irish grandmother always said, it's an ill wind that doesn't blow someone good. Yeah. So there you go. But overall, her works showed her transformation from a talented schoolgirl depicting cozy family settings to an artist who was meticulously documenting her life in Paris.
Wow.
And a woman celebrating her own body. With sensuous nudes, many which were self-portraits.
Wow.
Which was kind of unheard of at the time.
Right?
Like, this is a saucy broad here,
Good
you know?
for her.
And what's interesting is Modi never painted her nude.
Really?
She was one of the only ones he never painted her nude. Wow, maybe he respected her in some weird way.
I was going to say,
I don't know
in some way
means.
that seems like a tribute to her or a testament to his affection for her.
I guess. I don't know.
I don't know. Maybe I'm making it
But
wrong.
Jeanne, of course, had no qualms about drawing herself nude. And again, in these quite eye-opening poses. And she just owned her body in full.
Wow.
And if we consider that just 10 years earlier, women were banned from drawing nude models in French art academies.
Wow.
It's pretty interesting.
That is very interesting.
Yeah. So her works also included sketches of course, Modi near death, like we talked about. There's a lot of those sketches.
Right.
And just want to mention again kind of that dichotomy of how that relationship was totally romanticized despite the abuse. To quote Nijar Maramova from Narji magazine, the love story of Modigliani and Jeanne, among their profound influence on each other's lives, continues to inspire artists and art lovers to this day. Modigliani's artistic style, born from his deep love for Jeanne, remains instantly recognizable. Although Amedeo did not pamper his girlfriend, he poured all of his love and tenderness onto his canvases.
Well, I hear the tone in your voice, except for the fact that he did produce gorgeous art.
I know. Well, yes, it's true. Yeah. And in all the portraits of Jeanne, this special touchingness is clear, the way he saw her in life and the way she remained on his canvases forever. Their story is a poignant example of intense artistic devotion, with Jeanne remembered as the ultimate muse and sacrifice for her love.
What they don't mention is her postpartum hormonal raging, despair. But anyway.
Yeah, and the abuse, of course. But in stark contrast, Mary Riddle of The Guardian says, knowing the depths of Modi's depravity is essential to understanding him and his women. Some models, with their truncated limbs and extruded torsos, look butchered into desirability. I love her writing. Look butchered into desirability. Some have blanked out eyes, which supposedly depict depth of feeling, but look to me like the mutilation inflicted by someone who doesn't want to meet a victim's stare.
Oh, wow.
These are portraits by a man who despises women and very probably hates them.
Oh, wow.
That is pretty
That's
poignant.
pretty poignant.
Yeah.
Yep.
And again, stark contrast to this romanticism.
This romantic, view.
Yeah. Others have speculated that behind Modigliani's paintings is often seen control, abuse, a life that she couldn't escape, trapping her in this cycle of both fear and pain, and that Jeanne tragically took her own life as a stark reminder of the suffering behind those portraits. Maybe she did.
Maybe.
We will never know.
We won't know.
But again, that is kind of a Sheela stance in a way.
Yeah, and the revenge of the daughter who did unearth her mother's work.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Another Sheela.
I love that.
To be sure. Yeah.
To be sure.
But we don't beat the people we love, right? And why must she have sacrificed? These are the questions that go through my head. And it's complicated. It's not complicated at the same time. Yes, and I just want to talk about for a moment, because I know this is a little bit of a longer podcast, but I think it's important. I was in an abusive relationship. I think I've told you about this before, in my 20s. And it's the same guy I was talking about, who I was just
I didn't realize
saw,
that was
and I was... I was never, I don't think, I was only in love like that once. I was only loved that stupidly once in my life, but damn, I was in love with him. And he was abusive. He was abusive. He fractured my elbow. He dragged me through the house and put my head in the toilet once.
I remember you telling me that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He spit a Snickers bar in my face, a chewed up Snickers bar in my face in the car. He slapped me in public, and then, or he punched me in public, actually. Wow. I'm just remembering 2 different incidents. One time he slapped me, one time he punched me in public. And, I mean, this went on. But I was young, and I was madly in love with him. Like, I was madly in love with him.
So I would think that
I would understand this more.
And
I do. It's like my younger self does understand it. But my older self thinks, God, but if this was my daughter...
Kill him.
You know what I mean?
Can't forget all of that.
I do understand.
Line him up and kill him.
I do understand, but at the same time, it's so hard to reconcile, and it just sucks so badly. And I remember we took I made a truce with him. I was like, it's not fair because I love you so fucking much. It's not fair how much I love you and that you do this to me. And we made a truce, I remember. It was like a truce. And I was like, if you lay a finger on me again, I have to leave you. And I was embarrassed. I mean, one time when he punched me in public in a restaurant, we were with friends.
Oh my
They all saw it, and they all told me, you need to leave him. They all did. And I was so embarrassed.
What broke it for you?
Excuses for him. And I mean, the abuse we really did create, have a truce at one point. And it really became a lot better. Like there's something that really happened during that time. But I always still had the sense of kind of escaping with my last shred of integrity. Yeah. That's kind of how I always saw it. But I did meet somebody else. I met Cole. I started dating Cole, the artist I talked about earlier, who I...
Oh, that wasn't... Okay, I thought
that was Cole.
Oh, okay.
So Cole was kind of like a life raft in a way.
Rescued you from this.
Little bit of a life raft because...
But he never touched you again after your truce?
Not really, no.
Okay.
No, so at least we had that. And that was probably the last year of our relationship. But I get this is just bringing up so much for me. That's the bottom line. This is have you ever been abused before, April?
Not like that.
I know you've dealt with emotional abuse.
Oh, definitely emotional abuse, but not physical abuse. But of course, I worked for Women's Career Center for many years, and we worked with women who escaped abusive relationships. And there was an addiction. You're right.
That is exactly true. It is an addiction component. That is such a good point.
And it's so hard. And the thing that stands out to me in Jeanne's story is the fact that she had had postpartum, and then she was pregnant again. And I wonder how much of her depression and despair and suicide were the result of just hormones coupled with the abuse, the loss, the rejection from her family. I mean, there were so many layers of things going on.
So many layers. So many.
It was really complicated.
Yeah, no, it was. It really was. And to refer back to Linda Lapin, author of the historical cross-genre novel Loving Modigliani, The Afterlife of Jeanne Hébuterne, a work that reimagines the tragic life and overlooked artistic legacy of Jeanne Hébuterne. Her desire to write this book was actually inspired by that art exhibit in Venice in 2000.
Wow.
So to quote Lapin, she says, "Upon seeing this show, I was instantly captivated by Jeanne Hébuterne multifaceted personality and her resurrection from oblivion. In Jeanne, she said she found an icon representing not only her era, but all those women trying to fit the puzzle of themselves together. Mother, daughter, lover, artist, while dealing with a partner suffering from illness and addiction. Her life ended tragically because she lacked the support she might have found in our times. Which is kind of what we were just talking about. Yeah. Yet she strove to make art her life and to make her life art in a way that speaks to us so vividly today. Her artwork teases us with questions about who she really was, a self-effacing victim or a gifted artist with a mind of her own, a rebel who defied her family, flaunting her sexuality with voluptuous self-portraits, a dutiful daughter who suffered from her parents' rejection of her lifestyle. Over time, myths have accumulated around Jeanne Hébuterne, like mother of pearl. I love how she puts that. So please, I'm just going to say this. Do yourself a favor. Go look at Hebuterne's work. You will not be disappointed. I'm no art critic, but I actually prefer her work to Modigliani. Yeah. Wow. I can see his influence a little bit, but I feel like she took that and did it way better. But anyway, do yourself a favor. Go look at her art. According to Magda Michalowski at Daily Art, certainly Modi exerted influence on Jeanne, especially since they worked from the same models. But Jeanne Hébuterne's work was more attentive to the interiors in which she portrayed her sitters and was definitely more experimental than Modigliani.
Interesting.
In addition to portraits, she painted landscapes looking out at the countryside from her studio window, as well as still lives. Hébuterne's work is characterized by its gentle lines and soft, luminous use of color. Her paintings reveal a conscious artist who followed contemporary trends and, again, wasn't afraid to experiment. I love her portraits, by the way. They're so alluring, and they just have this rich expression, these beautiful colors. And sadly, though, in addition to her sketches, there are only about 25 of her paintings left in the world that they know of. And she, of course, died so young, she couldn't establish any kind of repertoire, really. You know what I mean, as a painter.
True.
So there you go. My heart just hurts for her, so it feels good to give her some light. And I do hope that everybody will look her up and look at her beautiful paintings and her sketches and her drawings. And we'd love to hear what you think. We would love, I mean, again, this is kind of a complicated, convoluted story, you know, and I'm sure you'll have a lot of opinions about it. We would love to hear how you feel about this relationship and her and
definitely.
Yeah, but I will spell you.
Please spell her name
for you. It is Jeanne, Jeanne, and then last name Hebuterne. Go look her up. You will not be disappointed. And thanks for listening, everybody, especially since this is a little bit of a longer episode. We appreciate your patience. We appreciate you being here. Until next time.
Fight the fight and shine the light.
That's right. We're doing it.
We're doing it.
All right. Thanks, everybody.
You.
Bye.
Bye.
Unabashed in your